Hello! In this video, I'm going to give you my thoughts on Assassin's Creed Origins. This is the first Assassin's Creed game I've played since Syndicate, and just like Syndicate, it's a historical fiction game, meaning it's set in a non-fiction time and place, but it uses fiction to tell a compelling story. In many ways, this game reminds me a lot of the most recent Witcher game, with similar combat and a 24-hour day and night cycle and a very open world. Before I go any further, let me warn all the parents out there that this game is rated M for mature due to blood and gore, drug reference, intense violence, nudity, sexual content, strong language, and use of alcohol. I've not seen some of these things so far, and I've been playing it for quite some time now. As it stands, I'm probably about halfway through the main quest line and have uncovered about half of the world map. The world is stunningly rendered with historical places such as the Great Library in Alexandria, the Alexandria Lighthouse and the port, the Sphinx, and the Great Pyramids, and many more places that you'll probably recognize from photos. You could practically use this game to go sightseeing in Egypt without having to leave your couch. You'll even get to meet some very well-known historical figures. I normally turn the music off in games like this, but I've left it on as it's so well done I can hardly even notice it's there when I'm playing. One last thing before I get into the meat of this review, and I really hope Ubisoft pays attention to reviews on YouTube like this. I really love the fact that there's very little of the "meanwhile, back at Abstergo" stuff in this game. So far, I think I've only had to play about 5 or 10 minutes of that stuff, and I must say, the less of this they can include in these games, the better the game is. I can't stress this enough because that kind of content is really disruptive. And, like in Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, and I think there was a fair amount of it in the one after that, which the name escapes me now. But it's really disruptive. You're just getting into the main kind of storyline, and it drags you out of that immersion to put you into some stupid, back at the office, a courier has brought a message. Who cares? Anyway, so thank you for not putting so much of that junk in, because it's really, I understand the desire to put a story within a story, and it's kind of dynamic and all that. But when you have something as good as the main story in these games, why add that modern day crap to it? It doesn't enhance the experience at all. It's more of a distraction, really. At least to me. My intention with this review is to talk about the game mechanics and to give you some tips that might make your playing experience a little better. And as usual, I'm intending to focus mostly on these things because I don't want to ruin anything by revealing spoilers or plot elements or anything like that. Something kind of cool going on is that in this episode of the Assassin's Creed series, you get to find out how, when, and where the Assassins were started. And again, I'm not looking to reveal any spoilers, but you'll find that out fairly early on in the game as you're following the main quest lines. This game's very similar to older Assassin's Creed games in that you play as an assassin and you can assassinate NPCs, and the use of stealth is very prevalent in many instances, but it's different this time in that it's truly an open world, and a very big open world. I mean, like Skyrim big. It's really big. Speaking of Skyrim, something else that is really great about this particular edition of Assassin's Creed is that other than fast traveling, there's not a single load screen anywhere, except before and after the cutscenes. And I say, referencing Skyrim because it seems like all you do in Skyrim is wait for loading screens. You can see all the different regions on this overhead map, and if you look just under the name in each region, it tells you what level the opponents are in that region. So unless you're playing it on the easiest setting, you really need to pay attention to that, because if you wander into a very high level region before gaining some experience, you can be killed in one hit. And you might not even see it coming. It might be some bandits with a bow or something like that. So watch out. Also, during gameplay, your opponent's strength is shown above their head. And if you see a skull like this one, that means the opponent is way out of your league. And don't even try those guys, because you're not even going to be able to scratch them before they have you totally destroyed. For the majority of the part of this game that I've finished so far, I've been playing the role of Bayek. He's sort of an ancient Egyptian sheriff type guy, or what's referred to in the game as a Medjai. It sounds like they're saying Magi, like a mage, but that's not what they're talking about. It's some title that I guess these kind of people had back in Egypt a long time ago. Anyway, as such, you're charged with roaming the countryside and righting the wrongs and doing good deeds for the helpless people and so forth. I've encountered one segment where I was playing as Bayek's wife, and it seems to have set up for more of that, playing her later in the game, but so far it's mostly Bayek. The menu screen has all the important information that you need. This part of the menu is called the target screen, and it shows you who your potential targets are. And I'm not trying to, mess up any spoilers here, but in the beginning you only have these 5 at the bottom, and it seems as you eliminate each level of these guys, it gets you closer and closer to the main one. The quest screen tells you what quests are available, and it has a short description of what they're about, as well as the level you should be if you want to try to pursue them. The quests are broken up into 3 different types. You have main quests, and these are the ones that advance the storyline ahead, and they reveal more of the plot. The side quests give you a chance to help the people of the land earn loot and explore more than you might if you don't take them. Events take place as you're wandering around in the world, such as a civilian being attacked by a vicious hippopotamus. I know you're laughing right now, but that actually happens in this game. If you want to level up as fast as possible, you should complete as many quests as possible, and side quests are a great way to get it done without advancing the storyline a lot. The gear screen shows you all the stuff that you can use. Ranged weapons are your bows. Bows come in 4 varieties: hunter bows, light bows, warrior bows, and predator bows. Each type can be used for specific purposes, so choose wisely. Your outfit is the clothing you're wearing. You can buy or earn new outfits during the game. I've not determined if this has any effect on the mechanics of the game, but some of the outfits have things like cool masks. The game provides for a horse or a camel to use as your vehicle. Yeah, they even call it a vehicle in the user documentation, which I thought was kind of funny. I haven't determined if one is really better than the other, but I have determined that I like using a horse more than a camel, because horses seem a little faster when I'm not using the fast travel feature. Also, in the skills tree that you'll see later on, there's a place where you can actually get chariots as well. And I haven't gotten a chariot, so I don't know if that's any better. You get several different weapons to use. Some are better against certain opponents, and there are some different types of attacks. Like, for example, the bumper is for quick strikes, and the trigger does more of a calculated, time-consuming strike, but it's a lot stronger. If you alternate between them in certain ways, you can execute combination attacks that are hard for your opponent to defend against and do a lot of damage. So for melee combat, you have regular swords. They can be used with a shield, and they offer medium speed and medium damage. Sickle swords are curved blades that do a little more damage than the regular ones. Dual swords are really fast attacking, so they're very offensive, but you get hit more with those, and they don't have a very good reach. Heavy blunts are massive two-handed weapons that are very slow to wield, but they just do a ridiculous amount of crushing damage, and they can knock opponents off their feet too and bash through shield defense, which is really important because when you're fighting a guy with a shield, and if you're just using a sword, it's very hard to get through his defenses. If you're using a big heavy mace or club or something like that, it just bashes him and it knocks him down, and then you can hit him better. Heavy blades are two-handed weapons like axes and polearms. They do a fair amount of damage, but not as much as the heavy blunts. Scepters are fast, blunt weapons with a long reach. And spears also have a long reach and do a decent amount of damage, but they're bladed. You can also choose to go unarmed, fighting just with your hands. I haven't run across a situation where this is necessary yet, but like I said before, I'm only about halfway through the game, as far as I can tell. There might be a time where you have to just subdue your opponent, and that would probably be what your hands are used for. Shields defend against melee or ranged attacks. They come in different sizes and they can be used as a weapon for certain types of what they call bashing or charging attacks. To be honest, I've been carrying shields around, but I haven't really learned the finer points of how to use them. I just go around and bash the crap out of whatever I see, and if it hurts me bad enough, I use that dodge button to get away until my health is recovered enough to finish what I started. Tools are the projectiles that you craft for use in stealthy applications or in general combat, things like darts and fire bombs. At the bottom of the gear menu are the pieces of equipment that represent your assassin's hidden blade damage, quiver size, stabilizer glove for better archery damage, bracer for increased melee damage, breastplate which gives you more health when upgraded, and your tool pouch which holds your craftable weapons like your darts and fire bombs that I just mentioned. There are 3 different categories of shields and weapons: common, rare, and legendary. Common items are easy to find or purchase and are notated by a blue background. Rare ones have a purple background and provide some extra attributes like causing extra damage or protecting against more than one kind of attack. Legendary items are ones that have the yellow backgrounds. They're the best because they actually have 3 additional attributes. One really great thing about this game is that you can take whatever you have and go to a blacksmith and upgrade it to your current level. So if you find a nice legendary weapon that has the attributes that you like, keep it and just upgrade it all the time. You also have the ability to dismantle weapons for resources, but according to the in-game tips, it's better and more reliable just to sell those weapons for money, because you don't always get a lot of resources when you dismantle them. The abilities screen shows you how many places in the world you have synchronized and which skills you have purchased in the skill tree. The left side of the skill tree has all the hunter skills. These skills deal mostly with things like using a bow. The center represents the warrior class and deals with melee combat skills. The right side deals with what they call the seer class, and it offers craftables and diplomacy, like to get better prices at the shops. As far as I can tell, so far, it looks like I will end up with enough points to fill out the entire skill tree in every discipline by the end of the game. As you can tell, I'm more of a melee guy because my warrior skill tree is filled out more. The inventory screen shows you everything you're carrying. This is pretty self-explanatory except for the upper right part. Papyrus maps are scattered around and they give you clues about where to find a chest with an extra special item in it. I've recovered legendary weapons and such from these treasure maps. That's really what they are. They're treasure maps, and it does add a neat aspect to the game that makes things even more fun. Everyone loves a good treasure hunt, right? One of the things I thought of as I started out playing this game is how different the world is. In other Assassin's Creed games, there are maps with a bunch of stuff you can find, and once you've uncovered everything, you're pretty much done there, and you're on to the next one. And you usually don't have a lot of reasons to go back someplace. In many cases, you were limited to specific areas based on the progression of the storyline. I did notice in the very beginning of this Assassin's Creed game, during the tutorial chapter, I wasn't allowed outside the easy region where you start out. But once you get out of your tutorial, it opens up the whole world. Bayek has an eagle companion that can be used to scout areas when you get close to a quest objective, or simply to get a better look at places so you know where the entrance is to a tomb or something like that. The eagle can be upgraded with combat assisting features in the skill tree. By scouting with your eagle, you can lock and track enemies, which is very helpful if you're trying to use stealthy tactics. According to the in-game hints, there are a couple of arenas you can visit and fight as a gladiator. I haven't visited one of those yet, but I have done some chariot racing at the Hippodrome. It's pretty fun too. These races pit you against computer opponents, and I think there's a way to do it against human opponents as well. And you race chariots around the Hippodrome, just like in the old days, right? The races get progressively harder, and you earn 100 gold pieces for winning the cheap races, and then 200 for the more advanced ones. I haven't finished the chariot racing yet, So I don't know what the ultimate prize is. I'm expecting it's probably a super cool steed that you can ride around, something like that. You can also use boats and sail around the various waterways and lakes on the map. There's even a portion that harkens back to the pirate-themed Assassin's Creed games where you have to use a ship out on the ocean for some naval warfare. But again, I said I don't want to reveal any spoilers here, so just know that it's there and it's fun. After one of the early main quests, you end up with bounty hunters who come after you. You can see them on your map, so it's kind of hard to get surprised by them. It's a good idea to avoid them altogether unless you're at least the same level as they are, because they're a lot tougher than your run-of-the-mill bad guys of the same level. So be on the lookout for that. They're notated by this little red helmet on the map, and if one of them sees you in the game, you get a little war horn sounding thing. You also have to swim at certain points of the game, and it's pretty easy to learn how to do it. The in-game tips on this game are really great. That's something worth mentioning. The game's really good at explaining what's going on, and as long as you know how to read the map and navigate the menu screens to see what quests you have and so forth, it's really hard to run out of things to do. So overall, as you can probably tell, I'm really impressed with this game so far. It offers a ton of stuff to do in a really nicely rendered open world that rivals anything I've seen released in the past 5 years. If you're a fan of Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, The Witcher, Skyrim, or any similar RPGs, you'll most likely really enjoy this one. So, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch. If you find my content useful or helpful or entertaining or anything like that, please consider subscribing. These game reviews take a lot of work and a lot of time to put together, so if you found it helpful, maybe share it with your friends. And if I come across anything else in this game that I think is worthy of another video, I'll put it out. I'm going to get back to it. I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.
هم حطب نفر ورد ويام خطاب